This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening, I'm Marivel Tarouk. Ontario health authorities have announced a new presumptive case of COVID-19 in Toronto. They say a woman arrived in Canada from China on Friday. She went to North York General Hospital's emergency department with a cough. Ontario's Public Health Laboratory confirmed the presumptive case today, but the results will need to be confirmed by the National Lab in Winnipeg. The Ministry of Health says the woman is now at home in self-isolation. They say there is a low risk the woman was infectious and she wore a mask on her flight and had limited contact with other individuals. Ontario's first 3 cases of the coronavirus have all been resolved. Health authorities will be holding a news conference on this latest case at 9 a.m. tomorrow, maintaining the risk to Ontarians remains low. Well, with localized outbreaks of the coronavirus outside of China, there's growing concern the world is now facing a global pandemic. Tina Lovegreen looks into efforts to contain the virus.
Streets deserted and shops shut down. In northern Italy, dozens of towns are under lockdown as the country takes unprecedented steps to curb the spread of the virus that has the whole continent on edge. At one point, Austria had temporarily halted all rail traffic to Italy. And tensions are high as residents scramble to stock up on food under the watchful eye of police, who are also patrolling streets and carrying out checks at the borders. In nearby Venice, even before the famed carnival was cut short, masks were a common sight. In Milan, fashion shows went on without an audience. And in a country where soccer is king, empty stadiums. The outbreak of the disease outside of China is worrisome, says the World Health Organization.
I think that the pendulum is rapidly swinging toward containment not being a viable option as we're seeing more and more cases pop up throughout the world.
There are similar fears in Iran, where the virus has killed more people than anywhere outside of China, sparking public fear, shortages, and doubts that officials can contain the virus. Iran's neighbors are also concerned. Pakistan, Turkey, Armenia, and Afghanistan have all closed their borders. And in South Korea, the nation with the second highest infection rate, officials are doing everything they can to keep people calm, urging residents to stay home unless it's absolutely necessary and banning mass gatherings.
And I really think this is time for medical teams and public health teams to really prepare for either more imported cases, but also for locally acquired cases as well.
The challenge now, containing fear as well as the outbreak. Tina Lovegreen, CBC News, Vancouver.
The clock is now ticking on a rail blockade near Belleville. A protest organizer tells CBC News police have given them a deadline of midnight tonight to vacate the area or face investigation and possible charges. The Belleville blockade has choked supply chains for nearly 2 weeks, all while tensions between the RCMP and Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs continue over the proposed pipeline in BC. Olivia Stefanovich reports.
Upping the pressure, the Mohawks of Tyendinaga face an ultimatum: tear it all down or face charges. The Mohawks made their own recording, complete with CN's conditions.
So the offer is, if everyone vacates the property, CN's property tonight, that CN is not going to pursue charges.
I have morals and ethics, and I know what Canada's doing is wrong.
Now one of the Mohawks who has been here since the beginning worries about what might come.
I've always felt that they were close to solving it peacefully. The question is whether the people that come are peaceful.
Protest camps sprang up in solidarity with Wet'suwet'en Hereditary Chiefs, who oppose a natural gas pipeline and want the RCMP out of their territory. The Mohawks set that same condition for ending their demonstration, which has been hurting the economy and disrupting supply lines for 18 days.
That's the CBC's Olivia Stefanovich reporting from Tyendinaga, Ontario. And an update for you from Via Rail tonight. It says full service will resume between Montreal, Ottawa, and Quebec City tomorrow. It has been suspended for days as a result of the blockades. Routes between Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal remain cancelled until at least Thursday. Meanwhile, the effects of those blockades on the Canadian economy continues. We have heard from consumer groups who say they're leading to shortages. CN Rail has had to lay off staff, and now smaller independent businesses are warning their employees might be next. Angelina King has the details.
It's been 18 days and counting since this blockade was put up on Tyendinaga Mohawk territory near Belleville. Some shipments of everything from coal and grain to iPhones and fresh fruit are no longer making the trek across the country. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says the impact has now gone beyond agriculture and manufacturing to retail and small and medium-sized businesses. Just one example.
It is affecting a car dealer in St. John's, Newfoundland, sent us a message about the impact that this is having because his new cars that his customers are expected are stuck somewhere between Halifax and Toronto.
This is a very complex issue.
JP Gladue is the president and CEO of the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business. He says there's more than 54,000 Indigenous-led businesses in the country. Many of them rely on the resource sector and are also feeling the effects of the blockades.
Some are being very vocal about the importance of open, transparent dialogue. Let's get this country moving. Our businesses are being impacted.
But he says there's an important conversation that needs to happen between Indigenous leaders and the government, and the gas line is just the catalyst.
I think it's gone far beyond just the gas line. It's gone to the rights and the impatience of Indigenous people to get things right in this country with the government. We want to see a resolve to these issues. We want to see business flow. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that Indigenous communities' rights are being respected.
There is sympathy for many of the positions, either on environmental issues or Indigenous issues on the part of many small business owners, but that's quickly disappearing.
Kelly says that support will continue to dwindle, especially if small and medium-sized businesses are forced to lay off employees, which he says is on the horizon if the blockades aren't removed soon. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Faces a shot, makes the save, keep the puck, David. You've just got a National Hockey League victory. 6-3 Carolina. Oh man, look at that reaction.
What a night for David Ayres, from Zamboni driver to his first NHL win. This is a game that had hockey fans glued to their TVs last night. Early yesterday evening, he was an unknown 42-year-old who happened to have a cool association with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Today, Ayres is the toast of hockey fans across Canada and the U.S. after filling in for the Carolina Hurricanes' 2 injured goalies and winning. Magda Gabrisalesa has his story.
It's an ending fit for Hollywood, an unlikely hockey hero and his history-making moment.
When I saw the text message, these guys playing with me right now? Like, I'm going in?
Last night, 42-year-old David Ayres, a married father of 3 with a day job, made his NHL debut. The Toronto Maple Leafs were facing the Carolina Hurricanes, and Ayres was the emergency backup goalie on site. In the second period, the emergency came. The Hurricanes, up 3-1, were suddenly down their 2 goalies with injuries, and Ayres was called in.
These guys were awesome. They said to me, just have fun with it. Don't worry about how many goals go in. Just enjoy it.
And he did. The Leafs scored 2 goals on him, but he still made save after save.
Ayres makes a lovely save.
8 in total.
Faces a shot, makes the save, keep the puck, David. Oh man, look at that reaction.
With him in the net, the Hurricanes secured a 6-3 win, and Ayres made history as the oldest goaltender to win in his NHL debut. Today, he was back on the ice in his regular role as a practice goalie for the Leafs, but he's still basking in his big moment.
I didn't sleep much last night, that's for sure.
T-shirts with his name are up for sale, and fans are singing his praises.
Amazing. Yeah, he did really well.
Better than Anderson.
His wife couldn't be more proud. She says hockey is his first love, and not even a kidney transplant 15 years ago could keep him away from it.
He's that guy that won't ever give up, and he does everything he can to better himself.
When asked whether he thinks he'll get another shot at the NHL,
You never know, I'm getting up in the ages and stuff like that, but if there is one, I'll take it.
So what's next for this hero goalie? Well, he'll be joining his winning team once again. The Carolina Hurricanes have invited him to be a guest at Tuesday's game against Dallas. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Beautiful, so beautiful. He loves the ducks, so we've been down looking at the ducks and watching the planes.
Just having a nice run down along the lakeshore. It's a beautiful day, so I figured get out there and enjoy it.
Beautiful enough for shorts?
Absolutely. Don't I look good in them?
You do.
You can pan down if you want, but I would suggest maybe not. There it is.
That's our cameraman James having a little fun out there today, speaking to people enjoying the beautiful weather. The warm sunshine brought people out in droves, and apparently there's more in store for us tomorrow. Which is exactly what you told us yesterday, Christina. It's just, I love when a forecast pans out. Beautiful day.
Absolutely, it's been gorgeous. Now, overnight, we're also experiencing some great conditions. We aren't even dipping below freezing. Now, tomorrow, this is our last day of pre-spring-like weather. Our afternoon high at 8. It'll feel like 7, but an absolutely beautiful day. Now, in case you are wondering if this is above seasonal temps, yes, absolutely. In fact, in the last 6 months, we've only dipped once. That was in November. Otherwise, we are way above seasonal until, of course, Monday night. Tomorrow, enjoy an absolute beautiful day, but in comes in that low pressure system from Texas. Now, this is going to cause some rain and a little bit of that wet snow for Tuesday, but the real story is really between Tuesday and Wednesday. That low pressure system from Texas, aka that Texas low, is going to give us a swath of snow across the greater Toronto area, probably looking at about between 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. And on the back end, we are looking at some colder temperatures, so those pre-spring-like conditions out the door as that system moves on east. Clear skies for our Monday. In comes in that system for your Tuesday through your Thursday. Friday, a little bit of precip, dry for Saturday and your Sunday.
Okay, we'll check in for the long range a bit later. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
An early morning fire at a homeless encampment sent one person to hospital today. This is the second time this year an encampment has gone up in flames in the city. Natalie Nanowski has the details.
Firefighters had a tough time finding the makeshift home in Corktown Common Trail. It was in a wooded area behind a fence. When crews finally made it through, they found 4 people.
Thank goodness nobody was seriously hurt. We had one person go to hospital with smoke inhalation.
The city says outreach workers visited the site numerous times this month, encouraging people to go to shelters. But homelessness advocates say it's not easy to convince people to go inside.
There are no beds in the system. 2 weeks ago, we turned away 12 people from the Beth Shalom Beth Tzedek out of the cold shelter. There is nowhere for them to go.
With the system overwhelmed, more encampments are popping up, and the city keeps clearing them out.
We just cannot let these encampments stay indefinitely in place because there are dangers that come about, whether it's through fire or other things.
When Mayor Tory goes in and cleans out these encampments, he's threatening the very survival of those people because he's taking all their possessions, everything they need to survive outdoors.
The city plans to build 40,000 more affordable housing units over the course of 10 years. But until then, advocates say the city should take on a harm reduction approach.
There is ways to educate people. There are things to give them. Everything from inflammable blankets, as it said, fire extinguishers.
It's not the first time an encampment has caught fire. In January, there was a blaze near Bloor and Sherbourne. No one was injured, but the fire damaged a bridge. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, we hear the results of a fundraising campaign aimed at helping Canadian families devastated by last month's plane crash in Iran. Stay with us. We want to take you live near Victoria Park and Finch in Scarborough for some breaking news. Police say a man in his 40s has been shot. It happened just in the last hour. Police say his injuries are serious and he's been taken to hospital. They have multiple investigative units on scene. We'll have the latest updates on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. A campaign to help Canadian victims of the Iran plane crash has surpassed its goal, raising more than $3 million.
We have wrapped our arms around those in grief and in need of our help. And we have shown that together we are Canada Strong.
Mohammed Faki, president of Paramount Fine Foods, made the announcement this afternoon. He started the Canada Strong campaign 5 weeks ago with a goal of raising $1.5 million. The federal government also pledged to match donations up to that amount. So in total, almost $3.3 million were raised, going towards the families of the 57 Canadians killed when their flight was shot down in Tehran. Bernie Sanders has picked up momentum in the Democratic presidential race with a commanding lead in this weekend's Nevada primary. And as Paul Hunter tells us, that's made him a target for his rivals.
Campaigning today in Texas, Bernie Sanders seemed more energized than ever.
Let us beat Trump. Let us transform this country. Thank you all very much.
Now with the most votes in 3 straight states in the battle among Democrats for who'll take on Donald Trump for the White House.
We had 3 additional for Biden, right?
Yesterday, in the Nevada caucuses, Sanders not only came in first, but did so comfortably, with support across age groups and ethnic backgrounds. And significantly, strong backing from voters whose stated aim is simply finding a candidate to beat Trump.
We have now won the Nevada caucus.
But for those now deeming Sanders unstoppable, a reminder, it's still early days.
Jesus can't nobody.
Today, one-time frontrunner Joe Biden, who came second last night, albeit distantly, was in South Carolina, long seen as a Biden stronghold. It's home to the next Democratic primary next Saturday. A reset? Or Biden's last stand?
I'm going to do well there, and I'll do well there, and I'll do well beyond there as well.
Biden and fellow Democrats Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar are among those who regularly underline that Sanders, a self-described Democratic socialist, is too radical for most American voters, and that if pitted against Trump, Trump would thrash him. In the past, he's labeled Sanders a communist.
We'll see what happens, but I congratulate Bernie Sanders, and if it's going to be him, he certainly has a substantial lead.
Say some, Trump can't wait to campaign against him. As Democrats, still divided, still choosing, but now leaning Sanders, wonder, where does all of this go from here? Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
All of them are done in a way to make you feel serene and give you a sense of calm. My tagline is exhale, find your calm.
That's just one of the hundreds of artists who showed off their work at the Better Living Center today. Meet more of them next. Hundreds of Canada's top contemporary artists gathered at Toronto's Better Living Centre today, giving fans a chance to meet and buy directly from their favorites. Yelena Adzik has more on the initiative.
Over the past 13 years, the Artist Project has bloomed, not only in terms of the number of people and artists, but also in terms of the diversity of art represented. There are all kinds of media and styles. The artists are from across the country and from different backgrounds, and the images themselves tell a wide variety of stories. And since the whole point of this show is to connect with the artists directly, as opposed to being in a gallery setting, here now are a few of the stories we heard today.
It's my first time being here, and it's really exciting. Working as a criminologist in South Africa, there was all of that. There was grit, there was hope, there was plenty of struggle. And I think that shines through in my art.
Well, I'm from Chippewa the Thames First Nation, and this body of work is just about raising awareness about Indigenous issues in Canada. I thought using a really iconic theme like Honest Ed's and the Honest Ed style of posters was a great way to kind of like pull people into the booth.
So my name is Tash Demjanovic. I'm a fine art photographer. I absolutely love the Artist Project because it allows me to reach the local public to showcase my fine art photography, which is sailboats, kites, and figures. And all of them are done in a way to make you feel serene and give you a sense of calm. My tagline is exhale, find your calm.
I think one of the main ways my work stands out is the fact that it's representation of black men, and it's something that you don't see very often in galleries in general, whether it's commercial galleries, museums, and certainly not at art fairs like this one, and which is one of the reasons why I do focus so much on representation.
Some negative things that happened that forced me to reevaluate what I was doing, and this little niggly feeling that this is just what I always wanted to do, and a little kick in the pants from my husband to do it, and so I started.
The Artist Project serves as a great reminder that it is worthwhile to spark up conversations with artists in our communities, no matter where we live. A lot of them are saying that even if you don't buy a piece of art, just listening and engaging with them is a really valuable form of support. Yelena Adzik, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's check out our long-range forecast. Christina is back with that. So not much longer for these spring-like temperatures, it sounds like.
Yes, it's best to get out tomorrow if you can. We're starting off the work week at 2 degrees, and then we're going to peak Monday afternoon at 8 degrees. And here comes that low pressure system, and coming in from Texas evening tomorrow evening actually. So Monday evening in comes in that low pressure system. This is going to cause us some scattered showers and some flurries, but the real story occurs with this Texas low come Tuesday through Thursday, because that's where we're going to be seeing the most amount of snow accumulation throughout the Greater Toronto area. Here comes that snow swath here, probably looking at about between 5 to 10 centimeters in the Greater Toronto area. The major amount of accumulation is going to be towards Ottawa. So Ottawa will be looking at between 10 and 20 centimeters there. As far as what our conditions are going to look like temperature-wise, well, we're starting off the week beautifully at 8 degrees. Here's that system come in for your Tuesday through your Thursday, and then we see the temperatures actually drop a little. So it may be like -2 on Thursday, but it'll actually feel like you're -9. So it's going to start to dip, because as that system moves out east, well, it's leaving behind some cold weather. That'll be moving out to the Atlantic, but we are going to be dealing with that precip between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Toronto, Hamilton, Barrie, and Oshawa, and then behind it, those colder temperatures. Kitchener, Burlington, Markham, and Pickering, similar story there. Clear skies for your Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We are looking at colder temperatures with that precip. Ottawa, similar situation.
All right, thanks a lot, Christina.
Thank you.
And that's our show for you tonight. We're going to leave you with some video of crowds flocking to the beaches in Toronto today. Have a great night, everyone.